After being abducted into the mountains and forced to be a child bride for 10 years, I was rescued by the police and sent back home. My mother nearly fainted from crying when she saw the wounds all over my body. My stepsister, dressed in designer clothes, held her up and sobbed, "Sister, if you hadn't tried to save me back then, none of this would have happened to you. Don't worry, Mom, Dad, and I will make it up to you." They hired the best doctors to help me recover, made time to eat with me every day, and took me out to relax. Until the 4th day, my stepfather didn't come to the hospital, citing company matters as the reason. On the 5th day, my mom said she couldn't refuse a shopping date with someone. Only my stepsister stayed with me the whole time, and after I was discharged, she even gathered her friends to throw me a welcome party. I wasn't comfortable with the lively atmosphere and wanted to retreat upstairs after just a short while. When I discovered my earring was missing and reluctantly went downstairs to search for it, I happened to overhear my stepsister's friend criticizing me. "Your stepsister's hands are so ugly. They startled me just now." I froze, glancing down at my twisted, deformed hands. I had thought my stepsister might defend me, but instead, she snapped impatiently, "Don't even mention it, because of her hands. I have to sneak around just to get a manicure now. So annoying." You have no idea how scheming she is. Just because she suffered a few years in the mountains, she actually made my parents feel so sorry for her that they said they'd support her for life. A few years of hardship, and she gets to sit back and wait for company dividends while I have to inherit the business and work like a dog. It's making me envy her. Disheartened, I turned and walked away without hesitation as I watched my stepsister insist on leaving with a stranger, again. Since she's envious, let her suffer the hardship herself. 1. Sister, this auntie looks like a good person at first glance. Quickly let go of my hand so I can go over. My stepsister Chow Jiua shook the hand I was holding, her expression anxious. A few steps away, the middle-aged woman whom Chow Jiua called a good person was holding an ice cream cone, smiling and beckoning to her. "Sweetie, come quick. The ice cream will taste bad if it melts." 6-year-old Chow Jiua, in her urgency, actually glared at me and called me by my full name, "Chow Ingqiu. I told you to let go. Didn't you hear me? I'm telling you, if I don't get to eat ice cream today, I'll go home and tell Dad you bullied me, and have him kick you out." It was only at this moment that I suddenly snapped back to reality. I had actually been reborn in the year I was kidnapped by traffickers at the age of 6. "Chow Ingqiu, are you deaf?" Chow Jiu's dissatisfied voice rang out. I turned to look at her, and seeing the impatience in her eyes, I suddenly smiled. "Jiua, sister believes that auntie isn't a bad person." Before I could finish speaking, Chow Jiu's eyes lit up as she urgently interrupted me. "Then hurry up and let go, or the ice cream will really melt." I didn't release my grip, shaking my head as I said, "It's still not okay. Dad reminded me before we left that I absolutely can't let you sneak ice cream. I have to keep an eye on you for him." Chow Jiu's face immediately fell. She's always had a big appetite, and being controlled at home was annoying enough. Now she has to be watched by me outside too, which instantly made her furious. "You're not even my real sister. What gives you the right to control everything I do?" Her eyes widened as she suddenly shoved me with all her strength. Pretending not to react in time, I let the momentum send me tumbling to the ground, a sharp pain quickly shooting through my ankle. Frowning, I looked up and pleaded with her, "Jiua, just listen to your sister this once. You really can't go." Chow Jiua stuck her tongue out at me, declared, "I won't listen," and then skipped cheerfully toward the middle-aged woman. I saw her smiling sweetly at that woman and saying, "Auntie, you just said that if I came with you, I'd get ice cream. Can I have it now?" The middle-aged woman smiled, her eyes flashing with triumph. "Of course you can." She handed the nearly melted ice cream to Chow Jiua, who didn't hesitate and began devouring it in big bites. "It's so delicious, Auntie, you really weren't lying to me." The middle-aged woman grabbed her hand and suddenly looked at me, her face full of greed. "You heard that, little girl, even your sister said I'm not a scammer. Why don't you come over too? Auntie will buy one for you as well." Meeting her greedy and malicious gaze, I instantly broke out in a cold sweat, trembling all over with fear. In my past life, it was this woman who abducted me. At that time, Chow Jiua, just like now, refused to listen to me. She took advantage of my distraction to push me down and ran off to eat ice cream. I could tell that woman was no good, so of course I didn't dare let her go over. I limped over on my sprained leg, grabbing Xiao Zhiyue to prevent the woman from taking her away, while crying loudly to attract the adult's attention, seeing the situation turn against her. The woman tried to forcibly drag Xiao Zhiyue away. Xiao Zhiyue was terrified and burst into loud sobs. I fought with all my strength to save her, but just as I was about to pull her away to run, she shoved me aside and fled crying into the crowd. I fell to the ground, and suddenly a van came speeding toward me. The middle-aged woman didn't hesitate. She grabbed me and pulled me into the vehicle. I struggled and screamed for help, but the furious woman slapped me several times. If it weren't for you, little troublemaker, I could have snatched a few more girls today. She hated me for blocking her path to wealth. Before selling me off, she beat me every day and starved me. I clung to life, waiting for my mother or someone to come rescue me, but no one ever came. I was sold by these people into the mountains to be a child bride for a fool. During the day, I had to do all the dirty and exhausting household chores, and at night I slept in the pigsty, eating irregular meals. Enduring abuse and beatings were daily occurrences. Recalling those moments, my heart raced wildly, and I instinctively took a step back, too. I did consider turning around and running away. After all, Xiao Zhiyue was nothing short of an ungrateful wretch. In my past life, I risked everything to save her and endured 10 years of torment in her place. Not only did she fail to show gratitude, but she also secretly told her friends that I was feigning misery to gain sympathy. She even smiled and said she envied me, just enduring a few years of hardship in the mountains, and now I could lie at home spending money every day while still receiving company dividends. Such people aren't even worth comparing to beasts. They're utterly undeserving of my help, but in this lifetime, it's me, the elder sister, who remains safe and sound. If I want my parents to cherish me, I can't be someone who flees for safety when my younger sister is in danger. I forced myself to stand still, raised my head, and shouted at the trafficker, "I won't go over there. You're a bad person. If you don't let go of my sister right now, I'll call the police to arrest you." My voice was loud, and the adults nearby who were out with their children were the first to look over. They watched the middle-aged woman with wary eyes, and one uncle even took out his phone to call the police. The middle-aged woman's expression darkened slightly, and her gaze at me seemed laced with venom. She forced an explanation. "Don't listen to this girl's nonsense, everyone. She's my eldest granddaughter, throwing a tantrum because I only bought ice cream for her younger sister." With a stern face, she scolded me, "Ingqiu, stop making a scene on the street. Hurry up and come home with grandma." The people around hesitated when they heard her say my name. I took a cautious step back, catching a glimpse of Xiao Zhiyue struggling to keep her eyes open, and shouted again, "You still claim you're not a bad person? My sister just ate the ice cream you gave her and now she can barely keep her eyes open. You must have drugged it." Everyone turned to look. Xiao Zhiyue, who had been full of energy moments ago, was now nodding off. The half-eaten ice cream already fallen to the ground. It turns out she really is a child trafficker. We were almost fooled by her. Call the police. We absolutely can't let her take the child. The kind-hearted men and women were about to rush over and surround the trafficker when, just like in the previous life, that minivan came speeding toward them. The door swung open. The trafficker quickly climbed in with Xiao Zhiyue in her arms, and before slamming it shut, she shot me a vicious glare filled with hatred. The shadow left by the human trafficker weighed so heavily on me that my legs went weak with fear, and I collapsed onto the ground. The van quickly sped away, and as I stared at the ice cream dropped on the ground not far from me, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief, as if I had narrowly escaped death. At 3, when my mom and stepdad found me, I was crying while recounting the incident to the police. Today, Mom and Dad took me and my little sister out to play, but we accidentally got separated. I wanted to take my sister to find them, but she insisted on getting ice cream. She trusted a stranger's words and insisted on eating the ice cream he bought. I couldn't stop her no matter how hard I tried. In the end, that bad man took my sister away in his car. Upon hearing this, my stepfather immediately fainted. My mother screamed in terror and desperately pinched his philtrum. "Honey, pull yourself together. Finding the child is what matters most." When my stepfather came to, his eyes red with fury. He grabbed my shoulders and roared, "Why didn't you keep a better eye on your little sister?" His grip was strong, and the pain made my face turn pale. "Dad, I'm sorry. I couldn't stop her." A police officer couldn't stand it any longer and said coldly, "You're the parents. How can you blame a 6-year-old child for your own failure to watch your kid?" My mother tearfully pulled him away, blaming herself. "It's our fault for being too busy having fun and not watching the child properly. We can't blame Xiaoqiu. Honey, we need to hurry and find Jiyue. Those are human traffickers. If we're late, Jiyue will suffer." My stepfather stood frozen in place. When he snapped out of it, he slapped himself hard several times. "It's all my fault as a father. I've harmed Jiyue." My mother cried while trying to stop him, and in the end, the two of them embraced and wept bitterly. After sending me home, the couple prepared to set out in search of Qiao Jiyue. My mother's eyes were swollen from crying. She crouched in front of me, her voice hoarse. "Xiaoqiu, your father and I need to go look for your sister. Stay home and don't wander around. If you're hungry, eat some bread." I nodded obediently. "Mom, hurry and go find sister. I'll wait for you to come back." With Qiao Jiyue being kidnapped, the household wouldn't be able to settle down anytime soon. In my previous life, after I was found and brought back, Qiao Jiyue once joked half seriously, "Sister, when you were taken away by the traffickers back then, Mom and Dad went crazy looking for you. They had no time to take care of me, and I ate bread alone at home for so long." I naively thought Qiao Jiyue said this to let me know how much my family cared about me. It wasn't until later, when I overheard her complaining to someone, that I realized Qiao Jiyue felt neglected by our parents and was venting. Now that Mom and Dad are frantically searching for her, pouring all their hearts into her, she must be thrilled, right? My mother locked the front door and quickly left with my stepfather. I lay on the old sofa for a long time and only got up to cook when I felt hungry. I didn't eat bread but boiled water directly to make instant noodles for myself. After eating the steaming hot instant noodles, I felt completely revived. In my past life, I was mistreated by that family in the mountains, always eating the cold leftovers after everyone else had finished. Ever since I was brought back home, I've had a preference for hot soup and freshly cooked meals. After finishing my meal and tidying up the trash, I turned on the TV at a low volume and waited for my mom and the others to return. They still hadn't come back by the early hours of the morning. 5 days passed in a flash, and it seemed my parents had only just remembered there was still a child at home when they called the neighbor. I took the phone from the neighbor aunt, and my mother's voice immediately came through on the other end. "Xiaoqiu, your father and I are still searching for your sister and won't be able to return for now. I've already asked someone to deliver food for you. You must take good care of yourself at home alone." For, even through the phone, I could hear the exhaustion in my mother's voice. I silently clenched my hand and said very understandingly, "Yes, Mom, don't worry, I've grown up and can take care of myself. You and Dad should eat well outside. I'll wait for you to come back with my little sister." After hanging up the phone, I politely thanked the neighbor aunt. Auntie's eyes were slightly red as she turned to the kitchen to serve me some hot dishes and brought me steamed buns. "Xiaoqiu, you're still young. It's the age when you need someone to take care of you. Eating bread all day will lead to malnutrition. How about this? While your parents are away, you can come to Auntie's house for meals. Consider it keeping me company." I thought for a moment and didn't refuse. After all, I couldn't survive on instant noodles every day. I delivered all the meat, rice, and flour from my fridge to Auntie's house. At first, Auntie was reluctant to accept them, but I insisted that only if she took them would I feel comfortable staying for meals. Auntie had no choice but to agree. In the mornings and at noon, I ate at Auntie's place, while in the evenings, I cooked instant noodles or ate bread by myself, trying to trouble Auntie as little as possible. My mom and stepfather didn't return until half a month later. The two of them returned under the cover of night, and as soon as they opened the door, they saw me eating instant noodles. My mother immediately blamed herself. "Xiaoqiu, it's all Mom's fault. I should have arranged for someone to bring you food." My stepfather was unshaven, his eyes bloodshot, and his face utterly exhausted. He seemed provoked by these words, rushing over and overturning the instant noodle cup in one swift motion. "At least she gets a hot meal. What about my daughter? My daughter hasn't been heard from at all. I don't even know if she's dead or alive." My mother was startled and wanted to scold him, but upon hearing his words, she closed her mouth again, her eyes reddening. I looked down at the oil stains splashed on my clothes, remained silent for a moment, and then spoke. "Dad, little sister will come back. She will definitely come back. Don't be too sad. You must keep your spirits up. We have to wait for little sister to come back and reunite with us." My stepfather looked at me, suddenly crouched down and burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Xiaoqiu. Dad didn't mean to take it out on you." I held him carefully without making a sound, listening as he rambled on about many things. After that day, my stepfather forced himself to regain his spirits. He reopened the small restaurant that had been closed for a long time, and my mother and I helped out there every day. At night, after closing the shop, we would distribute missing person notices together. Missing person notices were distributed one after another, like stones dropped into the sea, without a single ripple in return. At first, my mother and stepfather firmly believed Xiao Zhiyue would return, but eventually, they grew numb and silent. In less than a year, both gave up. My stepfather locked the remaining missing person notices in a cabinet and said sorrowfully, "The police couldn't even find Zhiyue. No matter how much we do, it's just wasted effort." He turned his head to look at me squatting on the ground obediently washing vegetables, then reached out to hug my mom and sighed, "Mylan, we still have to take care of Xiaoqiu, and we have our own lives to live. Let's just move forward." 5. My mom's eyes turned red as she silently hugged him back. From that day onward, my stepfather never mentioned looking for Xiao Zhiyue again. It was as if he had forgotten he had another biological daughter, focusing solely on his business. Over 10 years, our family moved from a modest-sized house to a bright 3-bedroom apartment. After starting a small company, we upgraded again to a spacious flat. Eventually, as the company continued to expand, we acquired a private villa. On my 16th birthday, my mother and stepfather skipped work to stay home and celebrate with me. The 8 dishes and 1 soup were prepared by my stepfather, while the 3-tiered birthday cake was something my mom learned to make at the bakery. Wearing a birthday hat, I sang the birthday song. Across from me, my stepfather watched with a distant gaze, as if seeing someone else through me. Pretending not to notice, I blew out the candles. Late at night, I heard my stepfather choke back tears and whisper, "Mylan, do you think Zhiyue is still alive? It's been 10 years. If Zhiyue were still alive in this world, she'd surely be as tall as Xiaoqiu by now." My mother softly comforted him, telling him not to dwell on it. "Husband, as long as Zhiyue is alive, our family will be reunited sooner or later." They comforted each other. Standing outside the door listening, I suddenly curled the corner of my lips, my eyes filled with mockery. They kept saying they missed her, acting as if they couldn't live without their daughter, but in reality, they gave up searching less than a year after Xiao Zhiyue went missing. Everyone around us said they understood, saying our family still had to move on with our lives. My mother and stepfather murmured in agreement, all putting on a helpless expression. But deep down, did they really not know what kind of life Xiao Zhiyue might be living after being abducted? They know it, they're just deceiving themselves and unwilling to admit it. Just like now, with the family business doing so well, my stepfather and the others could easily spend money to hire someone, but they choose to do nothing. I didn't want to listen anymore, so I turned around and went back to my room. 10 years have passed, and by my calculations, Xiao Zhiyue should be rescued by now. 6. The day Xiao Zhiyue was rescued, I took leave from school. I picked out a beautiful long dress from the wardrobe and paired it with a diamond necklace before slowly making my way downstairs. As the villa door opened, Xiao Zhiyue, surrounded by her parents, instinctively looked up. When she saw me, she froze momentarily before snapping back to reality, her eyes quickly flashing with resentment. I saw it and walked past without changing my expression. I knew Xiao Zhiyue's ungrateful nature from my past life, so it doesn't surprise me at all that she resents me. "Zhiyue, you've suffered." I squeezed out 2 tears and reached out to hug her. Xiao Zhiyue, who had just been crying and complaining to her parents, suddenly changed her expression and shrieked, "Stop pretending to be nice. If you hadn't failed to stop me back then, I wouldn't have suffered so much. It's all because of you, you bitch, that I've become like this." Her words were sharp, each sentence more offensive than the last. sounding just like a shrew cursing in the streets. My mother and stepfather frowned upon hearing this, though Chao Jiue didn't notice. She shook her stepfather's arm and said, "Dad, I'm your own flesh and blood. You have to stand up for me. Hurry up, get this bitch out of here. I don't want to see her." Her stepfather's temples throbbed with bulging veins. He held back again and again but ultimately couldn't restrain himself, shouting angrily, "Enough, Jiue, it was you who insisted on leaving with strangers back then, and you even pushed Xiaoqiu down. How can you shift the blame onto her?" My mother looked displeased but didn't lose her temper. She tugged at my stepfather's sleeve and whispered, "The kid just got back. Don't talk to them like that." My stepfather suppressed his anger forcefully and didn't look at Chao Jiue again. Chao Jiue looked at her stepfather with disbelief. Her eyes filled with disappointment and resentment. "If you don't welcome me back, I'll leave right now. No need to act like I'm forcing you to accept me." Unlike her cautious demeanor when she returned home in her previous life, Chao Jiue was now irritable, angry, and spewing curses, repeatedly testing her stepfather's patience. "Chao Jiue, it's your own fault for running away and disobeying, which is why you suffered all these years. No one in this family owes you anything. If you can stand living in this house, then stay. If you can't, get the hell out." Her stepfather, his face twisted with rage, lashed out at Chao Jiue with a torrent of abuse. Stunned by the verbal assault, Chao Jiue's eyes welled up with tears, and she began to cry. "Dad, you're telling me to leave? I'm your only daughter." Her tears fell like pearls without stopping. Her stepfather looked at the old scars on her face and finally softened. "Jiue, Dad knows you've suffered a lot, but that's no reason to take it out on your family. Dad will get you the best doctors for treatment. Stay home and rest during this time. If you're bored, read some books, and don't use that foul language anymore." Of course Chao Jiue wasn't really planning to leave. She just wanted her family to remember her suffering so they'd compensate her doubly. "Dad, I understand." She shot me a venomous glare before reluctantly agreeing. My stepfather probably didn't want to see her. The man who'd cancelled work to stay home with me for a day in my past life now left immediately after taking a phone call. My mom asked the nanny to take Chao Jiue upstairs to see the room. Once Chao Jiue went upstairs, she took my hand and said, "Xiaoqiu, your sister grew up in that kind of place, so it's inevitable that her speech might be crude. Don't take it to heart." I nodded without saying a word. My mom glanced upstairs to make sure no one could hear, then lowered her voice and spoke to me. "We've discussed it with your father, and the family business will be left to you to inherit. As you've seen, Jiue is covered in scars and lacks manners. I'm afraid no one will be willing to marry her in the future. Your father suggested giving her some shares so she can live off the dividends and be taken care of indefinitely." 7. Before Chao Jiue returned, my mother and stepfather would think of her every year. Now that people have returned, they all look down on Chao Jiue more than the last, implying that keeping her at home is no different from keeping a pet. Seeing the barely concealed disdain in my mother's eyes, I can imagine how much she looked down on me after I returned in my past life. With reddened eyes, I nodded and said okay. My mother's phone chimed, and upon checking it, she hurriedly said, "Mom made lunch plans with Mrs. Lin today. Gotta hurry over." She reached up to adjust her hair, then turned and walked out. These past few years, our family's financial situation has improved significantly. Mom's gotten to know quite a few wealthy ladies and often goes out with them. I've gotten used to it. I watched her leave, then turned back only to find Chao Jiue standing at the corner of the staircase, her fists clenched tightly, her eyes fixed on me with hatred, as if poisoned. "On what grounds?" Chao Jiue asked while quickly running downstairs. "Why can you inherit the family business while I'm left pitifully with just those measly dividends? I'm also our parents' daughter. I have inheritance rights too." Chao Jiue acted as if she'd gone mad, her eyes bloodshot as she grabbed my dress with her filthy hands, stubbornly demanding an answer from me. I looked down at her twisted, deformed hands and suddenly let out a light laugh. "Chao Jiue, do you really think you're fit to inherit the family business in your current state?" Chao Jiue froze, a flash of confusion crossing her sallow face. I brushed her hand away. "To inherit the family business, you need excellent grades and proper manners. Which of these do you possess?" I knew my words were somewhat vicious, but these were all things Chao Jiue had said behind my back in my past life. I didn't see anything wrong with returning her own words to her. Qiao Zhiyue glared at me furiously. You, Qiao Yingqiu, how dare you speak to me like that? Aren't you afraid I'll tell Mom and Dad? Her threat didn't faze me in the slightest. I smiled indifferently. Go ahead and tell them. Let's see if they'll believe you. Qiao Zhiyue was so angry she could practically hear her teeth grinding. She had a fiery temper to begin with, and my provocation brought out all her anger. You damn bitch, isn't it just because you've been clinging to our parents all these years that they favor you? Let's see if they'll still favor you after I ruin your face. She bared her teeth and claws, trying to scratch my face, her eyes filled with fury. I didn't dodge and deliberately let her leave 2 bloody marks on me. The housekeeper, who had just finished tidying the room, hurried over upon hearing the commotion. Seeing me being bullied, she was so frightened that she immediately called my parents. My stepfather rushed back as fast as he could. Without a word, he slapped Qiao Zhiyue the moment he saw the wounds on my face. Go apologize to your sister. Qiao Zhiyue's crude words and actions had thrown the entire household into chaos the moment she returned, and her stepfather's patience with her had long since worn thin. The slap landed squarely, leaving Qiao Zhiyue clutching her face as she stared at him in shock, tears immediately welling up in her eyes. You didn't even ask before hitting me. Do you have any idea how much I've suffered? Stepfather raised his hand again, his face darkening. I told you to apologize. Didn't you hear me? Qiao Zhiyue had never been obedient since childhood, and that hadn't changed after her return. Not only did she refuse to apologize, but she also pointed at her stepfather's nose and yelled. When my mom left, she told you to take good care of me. Not only did you fail, losing me, but now you're planning to leave the family business to this outsider. Qiao, you fucking don't deserve to be my father. 8. The stepfather flew into a rage and slapped her again. Shut your mouth. Qiao Zhiyue cried and laughed hysterically, as if she had gone mad. I won't shut up. I'll say whatever I want. I've been living well with this mother and child all these years, while you never cared about how much I suffered in the mountains. I hate you to death. If my mother were still alive, would you dare treat me like this? The stepfather's face turned pale, then flushed with anger, before he finally shouted, Nanny Lu, lock the second young lady in her room and let her cool off properly. The nanny dragged Qiao Zhiyue upstairs, and Qiao Zhiyue's cursing lasted for a long time before finally stopping. The stepfather sat silently on the sofa and spoke only after a long pause. Xiao Qiu, your sister. His expression was awkward and conflicted. I knew what he wanted to say and responded understandingly. Dad, my sister has suffered so much. She must be feeling terrible inside. I won't blame her. Please don't be angry either. Let's make it up to her properly. With time, she'll come to accept us. The stepfather's eyes reddened as he nodded repeatedly. All right. Though disappointed in Qiao Zhiyue, she was after all his biological daughter, and he couldn't truly abandon her. He called for a doctor to treat Qiao Zhiyue and also hired a tutor to teach her how to read and write. His intentions were good, but Qiao Zhiyue didn't appreciate it. Qiao Zhiyue tore up the books, insulted the tutor, and after driving them away, she took the shredded pages downstairs and threw them in her stepfather's face. I may be uneducated, but I'm still your daughter. Even if you despise me, you'll have to support me for the rest of your life. Her stepfather turned pale with rage, rolled his eyes, and fainted on the spot. Husband, my mother tearfully called an ambulance, and when her stepfather woke up in the hospital, he weakly said, Send that rebellious girl Qiao Zhiyue to a nursing home. I don't want to see her anytime soon. I sat by the hospital bed, my gaze flickering slightly, my eyes red as I softly pleaded, Dad, don't act impulsively. Younger sister is still young and doesn't understand things yet. When she's older, she'll realize your good intentions. My mother wiped her tears. That's right, dear. Calm down. If you really send Zhiyue away, it'll be you who suffers the most. My stepfather was persuaded by us and said with a dark expression, Then I'll give this rebellious daughter one last chance. If she still causes trouble, she'll be sent straight to the sanatorium. After leaving the hospital room, my mother looked at me with relief. Xiao Qiu, I was worried just a few days ago that you'd reject Zhiyue. I never expected you to be so understanding. I lowered my eyes, smiling silently. After angering her stepfather to the point of hospitalization, Qiao Zhiyue behaved herself for a while. She took her medicine on time as instructed by the doctor and studied with her newly hired tutor. Seeing this, her stepfather felt somewhat relieved, but he relaxed too soon. One day, her mother rushed back in a rage and confronted him. "Xiao Yu, tell me, where have you hidden that woman outside?" My stepfather was stunned. "What woman?" My mother's face turned red with anger. "Stop pretending. Do you think you can keep your affair hidden from me forever?" My stepfather was wrongly accused for no reason, and his temper flared up. "Chen Milan, what nonsense are you talking about? Every day, I'm either busy at work or coming home to spend time with you. When would I have the chance to keep another woman?" My mother snorted coldly, not believing him at all. "Stop pretending with me. Someone saw you hugging and holding another woman on the street." The stepfather was so angry it gave him a headache. When did I ever? The couple had always been close, but now they were arguing fiercely. Exhausted from arguing, the stepfather suddenly shouted angrily, "Chen Milan, you're speaking with such certainty. Who on earth fed you these lies?" My mother let out a cold laugh and looked at him with disappointment. "What's the matter? Feeling guilty now? Trying to buy silence with money?" She was convinced her stepfather had betrayed her and stubbornly refused to reveal who had told her these things. Her stepfather gazed at her with wounded eyes and said wearily, "Chen Milan, for over 10 years, we've been husband and wife for over a decade. I never thought I'd be seen as such a person in your eyes. 9. When I was 3 years old, my father passed away unexpectedly. To support me, my mother took on 2 jobs and met my stepfather, who ran a small restaurant. Initially drawn to each other, they didn't rush into being together. They spent nearly a year getting to know each other, confirming their genuine desire to be together before finally getting married. During the toughest and most exhausting times, they held each other's hands without letting go. Now that life has improved, with money and leisure, cracks have begun to appear in their relationship. The two parted unhappily, and the atmosphere at home remained tense for the next few days. I comforted my mom, telling her not to overthink it, while Chao Jiue followed suit and tried to console my stepfather. When my mom and stepfather argued again over another woman, I presented them with investigative findings. "Mom, Dad, stop arguing. Look at this first." My mother wiped her tears, turned her head away from my stepfather, and picked up the documents as if in defiance. After glancing at them for a moment, my mother froze completely. My stepfather frowned, took the documents from her hands, and after reading them briefly, his expression darkened instantly. "Chao Jiue, get your ass down here." He slammed the documents onto the table, startling Chao Jiue, who was coming downstairs. "Dad, what's wrong?" Her stepfather was so angry his chest heaved. "How dare you ask me what's wrong? Come here and see for yourself." Chao Jiue's hands trembled as she picked it up and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. I deliberately spoke with disappointment. "Jiue, you've truly let us down. If you were unhappy about me inheriting the family business, you could have just said so. Why resort to spreading rumors behind our backs and inciting our parents to divorce and divide the family assets?" My mother glanced at Chao Jiue, her eyes filled with disappointment and anger at being deceived. "Jiue, Mom, Andy hasn't treated you badly, has she? Ever since you came back, haven't I provided you with everything? Dresses, jewelry, handbags. You're well aware of your current health condition. You simply can't take over the family business. Making you a minor shareholder and giving you dividends is entirely for your own good. You don't appreciate it, fine. But how could you turn around and treat me and your dad like this?" My mother even changed how she addressed me, her eyes filled with disappointment. My stepfather stood up, furious. "Chao Jiue, why can't you just stay at home and live a steady life? Are you really happy only when this family is completely destroyed?" Chao Jiue's petty scheme was exposed, so she stopped pretending and went all out. "Yes, I want to destroy this family. Only then can you get divorced. And I can get my rightful half of the property." Stepfather's face darkened. "I think you've lost your mind." Chao Jiue let out a strange laugh. "All of you favor Chao Yingqiu. Not a single one of you has seriously considered my future. In this situation, if I don't look out for myself more, that would truly be madness." The stepfather couldn't take it anymore. He closed his eyes briefly, made up his mind, and sent Chao Jiue to a sanatorium. After this incident, my mother and stepfather's relationship was still affected, Although both wanted to move on, the harsh words exchanged during arguments stuck in their hearts like thorns, impossible to remove. The house grew increasingly quiet, yet I acted as if I didn't notice, going about my daily routine as usual. I studied finance, jewelry design, whatever interested me, pouring all my effort into bettering myself. Just when I thought everything was behind me, the nursing home called. They said Xiao Zhiyue wanted to see me and had brought me a message. How does it feel to spend your life stepping over me and living the life that should have been mine? The moment I heard it, I knew. Xiao Zhiyue had also returned. 10. After some thought, I ultimately decided to go see her. Because Xiao Zhiyue's actions had deeply disappointed our parents, she was sent to a distant sanatorium. I had the driver take me there and met her alone. In the hospital room, Xiao Zhiyue's gaze turned vicious the moment she saw me. Xiao Yingqiu, you wretched woman, in our past life, I treated you so well after you returned home, yet you abandoned me without hesitation. If I had known it would come to this, I should have kicked you out of the house in my past life and made you a homeless beggar. My smile remained unchanged. Weren't you jealous that I was a child bride for 10 years and got all the love from mom and dad? This time, I won't save you. Let you experience it firsthand. Why aren't you happy about it? Xiao Zhiyue's expression froze, and she suddenly screamed hysterically. That was just an offhand remark. How could you take it seriously? How could you do this to me? I sneered coldly. Of course I knew Xiao Yingqiu wasn't genuinely envious. The reason she said that was simply to flaunt her ability to inherit the family business and bask in her parents' favor. But that was precisely what I hated about her. I fell to such a state to save her. So why doesn't Xiao Zhiyue feel even a shred of gratitude or guilt? I paid a painful price to save someone, and after finally returning, I have to watch you flaunt how well you're doing and listen to you subtly despise me. Since I clearly knew this would be the outcome, why did I bother saving an ungrateful wretch like you? Xiao Zhiyue clenched her teeth and glared at me, her eyes filled with hatred. But you're the elder sister. If you don't save me, you're selfish and cruel. The reason I've become like this is all because of you. She blames all her mistakes on me, never reflecting on what she's done. But how could someone who knows I've suffered for 10 years yet still accuses me of pretending to be pitiful ever engage in self-reflection? She would only think that when we got separated from our parents and encountered danger back then, as her older sister, I should have done everything in my power to save her. I smiled and said, if thinking that way makes you feel better, then go ahead and keep deceiving yourself. I have other things to do, so I'll take my leave now. As I turned to leave, Xiao Zhiyue called out loudly to stop me. You've known all along that I instigated my dad to divorce your mom for the family fortune, haven't you? I paused mid-step, my expression shifting slightly. Xiao Zhiyue continued, even though you knew, you still watched them argue every day. Do you hate them too? I lowered my gaze and scoffed. You're overthinking it. With that, I strode out of the sanatorium, sitting in the car, gazing at the beautiful long dress I was wearing. My thoughts drifted far away. In my past life, after Xiao Zhiyue said those things about me behind my back, I felt utterly heartbroken. Coincidentally, my parents came home just then, and I thought they would scold me sternly. Her stepfather merely frowned and told her not to talk nonsense. My mother put down her bag with an indulgent expression. Zhiyue was just speaking casually. Don't take it seriously. Even if Xiaoqiu heard it, she wouldn't mind. Every night, I dream about those things I experienced in the mountains. Being unable to move on is already painful enough, but my so-called family kept picking at my scars, trampling on them over and over, and in the end, they thought I shouldn't mind. How could I not resent them? Coming back to my senses, I turned my head to look out the window. Now, in this family of 4, no one is truly sincere with anyone else, and everyone harbors resentment. I think it's only fair. The end. That concludes the first story. Stay tuned, the next one is even more exciting. On the day I was brought back to the wealthy family, my fake heir sister clung to mom's arm, gently lecturing me on the law. Sister, our family values boundaries, and I hope you do too. You can't just enter my room as you please. Mom and dad's relationship needs time to adjust, so don't be too impatient, and don't disturb my brother's life. Ultimately, although I'm adopted, I've shared 20 years of memories with them. You may be their biological child, but to us, you're essentially still a stranger. In my past life, I tried so hard to fit in, lowering myself to the dust, only to be framed by her and stripped of everything, dying miserably in a mental institution. In this second chance at life, I smiled and nodded. You're absolutely right, sister. Boundaries are important, so now, I'd like you, this stranger in essence, to move out of my room. And while you're at it, cancel all the supplementary cards under your name that are paid for by my trust fund. After all, we're not close. Sue Ro's face froze. Her hand, holding onto my mother's arm, unconsciously tightened. My mother. Oh no, I should call her Lin Hui now. Lin Hui patted her hand and frowned at me. Su Qing, how dare you speak to your sister like that? Rura was just kindly reminding you of our family's rules. My father, Su Jiangwo, also stood up from the sofa. His face filled with disapproval. Just got home and you're already so aggressive. Is this how you behave outside? With no manners. My brother, Su Jie, directly shielded Su Ro, like a wolf protecting its cub. Apologize to Ro. A familiar scene, familiar accusations. In my past life, it was precisely this three-way interrogation that shattered my courage. In panic, I apologized, tearfully explaining I meant no harm. I just wanted so badly to fit in with them, and then what? Only to receive Su Ro's even gentler consolation. Don't cry, little sister, I know you didn't mean it, but we really need time to adjust. Could you stay in the guest room for now? That princess bedroom. I've lived there for 20 years, and all my things are there. Moving out suddenly, she trailed off, her eyes reddening. The whole family immediately gathered around her, fussing over her warmth and comfort, leaving me standing alone like an unnecessary joke, in this lifetime. Watching their identical performance, I could only find it laughable. I ignored their accusations and simply looked at Su Ro calmly. Sister, you just said that we are essentially strangers. Strangers shouldn't be living in my room or spending my money, right? What do you mean, your room, your money? My brother Su's temper flared up. Su Qing, don't go too far. What does any of this family's belongings have to do with you? Brother, don't say that. Su Ro held on to him, speaking softly and weakly. Little sister just came back and doesn't understand the situation. Little sister, this villa was bought by mom and dad, and my expenses have always been covered by them, unlike you. Is that so? I interrupted her. I took out a document from that worn-out canvas bag and gently placed it on the coffee table. Grandfather set up a trust fund for me when he passed away. This villa, and everything you're enjoying now, all come from the investment returns of this foundation, and I am the sole beneficiary. I paused, sweeping my gaze over their stunned faces. As for my room, grandfather made it very clear in his will. The south-facing princess suite on the 3rd floor with the largest terrace was specially reserved for me. So, I looked at Su Ro. Please, a stranger, move out of my room. By the way, I will immediately notify the foundation to cancel all the supplementary cards under my name. After all, boundaries are very important between us, too. A deathly silence fell over the living room. Su Ro's face turned pale, then green, then pale again. She probably never imagined that a country bumpkin like me would hold such a trump card. In my previous life, I had no idea this trust fund even existed. My grandfather passed away early, and I have no memory of him. It wasn't until after my death, when my soul wandered, that I overheard lawyers discussing how my grandfather had paved every possible path for me. It's just that this path was completely blocked by the Su family and Su Ro working together. They spent my money without a second thought, yet treated me like a pitiful intruder begging for scraps. Nonsense. My father, Su Jiangwo, was the first to react. Grabbing the document, he skimmed through it hastily, his expression growing increasingly grim. This can't be. How could the old man leave everything to you? Dad, please calm down. Su Ro quickly stepped forward to support him, her voice trembling with tears. Little sister must have misunderstood something. There's no way Grandpa would. Black and white on paper, notarized by lawyers, with Grandpa's own signature. I said coolly, if you don't believe it, you can hire your own lawyer to verify. Su Qing, my mother Lin Hui finally exploded, pointing her finger at me. What exactly are you trying to do? As soon as you come back, you want to turn this house upside down. Ro is our daughter whom we've raised for 20 years. Where do you expect her to go if you make her move out? She can stay in the guest room. I mimicked Su Ro's tone from my past life. Or go back to her real home. You, Lin Hui trembled with rage. My brother Suja was even more furious. Su Qing, don't forget, if it weren't for our family, you'd still be stuck in that mountain village. We took you in, and this is how you repay us. Raise me. I burst out laughing as if hearing the most ridiculous joke. I'm 20 years old, and today is my first day back in the Su family. Tell me, how many days have you actually raised me? We've been searching for you for 20 years. 20 years of searching, yet it took a police notification for you to finally bring me home. Such hard work you've put in over these 2 decades. My words were like a knife, piercing straight through their hypocritical masks. Suja's face turned beet red, unable to utter a word. Su Ro's tears finally fell as she threw herself into Lin Hui's arms. Mom, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have lived here. I shouldn't have spent the family's money. I'll move out right away. I'll return everything to my sister. Silly child. What nonsense. Lin Hui hugged her heartbrokenly. This is your home. No one can drive you away. She raised her head and looked at me with eyes filled with something close to hatred. Su Qing, if you still consider us your parents, take back that so-called fund. Rua's cards. Not a single one can be cancelled, and her room. No one is allowed to touch it. Otherwise, get the hell back to your mountain village. Our Su family has no place for a cold-blooded, heartless daughter like you. 3. I laughed. All right. My answer left everyone stunned. Lin Hui probably thought she misheard. What did you say? I said fine. I repeated, since you all don't want to see me so much, I'll just leave. I bent down, picked up my canvas bag, and turned to walk out. Not a trace of nostalgia. In my past life, what I feared most was this sentence. Get back to your mountain hovel. To avoid being driven away, I was willing to sacrifice everything. But now, every second I spend in this gilded cage of the Su family fills me with disgust. Stop, Su Jiangwo barked sharply. I halted but didn't turn around. You can't leave. His voice carried a barely detectable panic. If you go, what about the foundation? I understand. They're not afraid of me leaving. They're afraid that if I leave, the money will be gone. How pitiful and laughable. So what do you want? I turned around and looked at them coldly. Do you want me to stay and keep watching your happy family of 4 while I clap like a fool on the sidelines? That's not what we meant. Lin Hui's tone softened. But it was still full of accusation. We just hope you can be more sensible and not be so petty. Rura has poor health and has been spoiled since childhood. What's wrong with giving in to her? You're the biological one. Shouldn't you take on more responsibility? The same old lines again. In my past life, Su Ro used her poor health to steal my university spot, take my fiancé, and ultimately send me to a mental institution. Not a single thing that belongs to me will I give up. I enunciated each word clearly. She must move out today, and the bank card will be frozen immediately. You're dreaming, Suja roared. Then we'll see each other in court, I said, pulling out my phone from my bag. My lawyer is on standby. You dare. Su Jiangwo's blood pressure spiked with anger, clutching his chest and gasping for breath. Dad, Su Ro exclaimed in alarm, quickly patting his back to help him breathe. The scene descended into chaos for a while. At that moment, Su Ro wiped away her tears and stepped out of Lin Hui's embrace. She walked up to me, her face wearing a sorrowful smile. Sister, don't be like this. We're family. Taking this to court would be so embarrassing. I'll move out right away. She turned and bowed to Su Jiangwo and Lin Hui, who were still fuming. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for putting you in this difficult position. I'll go pack my things right now and return the room to my sister. Her tactic of retreating to advance instantly made me the target of everyone's criticism. Lin Hui was so distressed that tears kept falling, and Su Zhou looked at me as if he wanted to tear me apart. Ruru, you don't have to move. Let's see who dares to make you move. Su Ro shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Brother, don't say any more. This was originally my sister's room. I've occupied it for 20 years, and now it's time to return it to its rightful owner. After speaking, she dragged her frail body and walked step by step toward the upstairs. Each step felt like it was stepping on the hearts of the Su family, and I was the wicked witch who drove away their kind sister, for Su Ro's move was nothing short of earth-shaking. She packed and took away everything she had acquired in this room over the past 20 years, from the custom-made wardrobe and dressing table to a painting on the wall, even the Persian rug on the floor. The movers went in and out, turning the entire villa into what looked like a construction site. Lin Hui and Su Zhe accompanied her with dark expressions throughout, fussing over her as if she weren't just moving to the guest room next door but being exiled to a remote frontier. Su Jiangwo sat in the living room, drinking tea cup after cup, his gaze at me as if laced with poison. I couldn't care less. Sitting at the other end of the sofa, I leisurely scrolled through my phone, instructing the trust fund manager to freeze all the supplementary cards under Su Ro's name. The manager worked with great efficiency and replied within 10 minutes saying everything was taken care of. By evening, Su Ro had finally finished moving. The originally luxurious princess room was now completely empty, leaving only a bare bed frame. Lin Hui supported the physically and mentally exhausted Su Ro downstairs, and as they passed by me, she coldly tossed out a remark, "Are you satisfied now?" I raised my head and smiled faintly. "Not quite yet. What more do you want?" Su Zhe couldn't hold back his low growl. Big sister's belongings may have been moved out, but her scent still lingers in the room. I stood up, walked to the staircase, and called out loudly to the maid upstairs, "Nanny Wang, thoroughly disinfect the princess suite on the 3rd floor, from top to bottom, with disinfectant, wallpaper, curtains, carpets, all the soft furnishings, must be replaced. I don't like using things left behind by others." My words instantly turned Lin Hui and Su Zhe's faces ashen. Su Ro staggered, nearly falling, but fortunately Su Zhe caught her in time. "Sister," her eyes welled up with tears, "I know you don't like me, but you don't have to be like this. These things were all carefully chosen by me. Some are even limited editions. So what?" I raised an eyebrow. "Just because you like them doesn't mean I have to. I really can't compliment your taste, elder sister." "You..." Su Ro's face drained of color. She probably didn't expect that I would publicly expose her hypocrisy. "Su Qing, that's enough." Lin Hui, fiercely protective of her daughter, rushed forward and raised her hand to slap me. I did not dodge. In my past life, I endured countless slaps from her. When taking the blame for Su Ro, she hit me. When I failed to surpass Su Ro in the exam, she hit me. When I defied her and tried to visit my grandfather's old subordinates, she hit me again. I've gotten used to it, but this time, her wrist was caught mid-air. A man in a black suit and gold-rimmed glasses had appeared behind us unnoticed. "Mrs. Su, my client is not someone you can casually mess with." The man's voice was icy, carrying an air of unquestionable authority. It was my lawyer, Shou Yi, also the most capable right-hand man my grandfather left me. In my previous life, I never knew of his existence until after my death, when I saw him tirelessly working on my case. Lin Hui was overwhelmed by his powerful aura and momentarily forgot to react. Su Jiangwo also stood up, eyeing the unfamiliar man warily. "Who are you?" Shou Yi released Lin Hui's hand, took out a business card from his briefcase, and handed it over. "I am MS. Su Qing's personal attorney and the executive administrator of the trust fund under her name. From today onward, all matters concerning MS. Su Qing will be under my full authority." He turned to me and gave a slight bow. "Miss, the room has been scheduled for professional renovation as per your instructions and is expected to be completed in 3 days. Additionally, we've received word from the Foundation that several supplementary cards under MS. Su Ro's name were used at various luxury stores this afternoon, but all transactions failed due to insufficient funds. 5. As soon as Shou Yi finished speaking, Su Ro's face turned deathly pale. She had indeed made plans to go shopping with a few socialite friends this afternoon, to show off that her status hadn't been shaken in the slightest, even after the real heiress returned. She had deliberately chosen the most upscale mall and set her sights on a limited edition bag from the latest season. Under the envious gazes of her friends, she nonchalantly handed over the black card. However, the POS machine coldly displayed, "Payment failed." Refusing to believe it, she tried several other cards, but the result was the same. The strange looks from the clerk and her friends made her wish she could disappear into the ground. She fled the mall in disarray, wondering the whole way if there was a system glitch. Only now did she realize, it wasn't a system issue, it was me. I had really frozen her card. "Su Qing, you..." Su Ro was so furious she couldn't even speak. pointing at me with trembling fingers. Ruru, Lin Hui quickly supported her, glaring at me angrily. Look at what you've done. Are you trying to drive your sister to her death? Before I could speak, Zhou Yi stepped forward to shield me. Mrs. Su, please mind your language. Miss Su Ro is already an adult and should take responsibility for her own spending habits. Using money that doesn't belong to her to buy luxury items beyond her means is not the behavior of a responsible adult. Who the hell do you think you are? This is none of your business. Su Zhi snapped aggressively, trying to push Zhou Yi aside. Zhou Yi remained completely still, merely staring at him coldly. Mr. Su Zhi, my client holds full legal ownership of this villa, legally speaking. All of you are currently engaged in trespassing. If you continue to threaten my client with violence or verbal abuse, I reserve the right to immediately call the police and apply for a restraining order. Zhou Yi's words were like a bucket of cold water, extinguishing all the arrogance of the Su family. They can be reckless with me, their biological daughter, but wouldn't dare mess with a lawyer who knows the law. Su Jiangwo's face changed colors repeatedly. But ultimately he chose to compromise. He grabbed his impulsive son and said to me solemnly, Su Qing, let's talk. There's nothing to talk about. I walked past them straight toward the door. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. In 3 days, when my room is renovated, I'll be back. I hope by then, this home will have fewer irrelevant people and things. My gaze swept pointedly over Su Ro and the piles of luggage she had stacked in the living room. After saying that, I didn't spare them another glance and followed Zhou Yi out of this suffocating home. As the car drove out of the Su family's gate, I watched the villa grow smaller in the rearview mirror, feeling not a trace of reluctance in my heart. In my previous life, I desperately wanted to get in. In this life, I just want to escape as quickly as possible. Miss, everything has been arranged, Zhou Yi said calmly as he drove. The other property your grandfather prepared for you before his passing has been cleaned and is ready for you to move in at any time. The security system there is better, and it's also more peaceful. I nodded. Thank you, Attorney Zhou. Just call me Zhou Yi. He paused, before the master passed away. What worried him most was you. He said you have a gentle nature and are easily taken advantage of, and insisted that I must protect you. My nose tingled, and tears nearly fell. So, in places unknown to me, there has always been someone silently loving me. I sniffled and forced back my tears. Zhou Yi, help me look into something. Su Ro's biological parents. In my previous life, this pair of gambling-addicted parents came knocking, and the Su family, to save face, forced me to cough up 5 million as hush money. That money was the startup capital my grandfather left me for entrepreneurship. In this lifetime, I won't be that foolish again. It's time to detonate this ticking time bomb. 3 days later, I returned to the Su family. The villa was completely refreshed, and my princess room was decorated in a minimalist yet elegant modern style, exactly to my liking. The air was filled with a faint scent of aromatherapy, with no trace of Su Ro's cloyingly sweet fragrance left. The Su family still looked at me with resentment and dissatisfaction in their eyes, but no one dared to provoke me openly anymore. The lawyer had taught them temporary restraint. Su Ro moved into the guest room, and her miscellaneous belongings in the living room were also cleared away. When she saw me, she would force a smile that looked worse than crying and call me little sister. Then she would quickly lower her head, pretending to be very busy. The financial cutoff dealt her a devastating blow. Her high society friends gradually distanced themselves from her when they realized she could no longer foot the bill for afternoon teas or provide luxury shopping services. She tried pouring out her grievances to Su Jiangwo and Lin Hui, but they were now struggling to keep their own heads above water. Although the trust fund still covered the daily expenses of the villa and their basic living costs, all major expenditures required my signature, even if they wanted to give Su Ro money. They needed my approval first. Of course I wouldn't agree. That day, Su Ro was crying secretly in her room again because she couldn't afford the tuition for the new quarter of yoga classes. Lin Hui came to me with reddened eyes. Su Qing, can't you just show some kindness? Ruru has been learning this since she was little and has persisted for 10 years. If you make her stop now, wouldn't that be killing her? I was reviewing the company financial report Zhou Yi had sent over. Not even lifting my head, she can go square dancing. It's free and good exercise. You, Lin Hui was furious. How can you be so heartless? She's your sister. We have no legal relationship whatsoever. I turned a page of the financial report. Ms. Lin Hui, if you're here to plead leniency for Su Ro, you may leave now. I'm very busy. You, Lin Hui pointed at me, her hand trembling violently. Don't forget, you carry the Su family's blood. Your grandfather's company is now managed by your father. Aren't you afraid Afraid of what? I finally looked up, meeting her gaze directly. Afraid you'll bankrupt the company. I pushed a document across the table toward her. This is the company's financial report from last quarter, showing a loss of 30 million. If I recall correctly, when Mr. Su Jiangwo applied to the foundation for additional investment, he promised 50 million in profits. Ms. Lin Hui, do you think Ms. Su Ro's yoga classes are more important than the livelihoods of thousands of Su Group employees? Lin Hui's face instantly turned deathly pale. She probably didn't expect that I was actually reviewing these documents she thought I couldn't possibly understand. Her lips trembled, but not a single word came out for a long time. In the end, she could only slink away. I watched her retreating figure, feeling not a ripple of emotion in my heart. In my past life, it was they who deceived me out of all the shares my grandfather left me, using the excuse that the company needed funds. In the end, the company became Su Zhe's, and I was left with nothing. In this lifetime, everything that belongs to me, I will take back with my own hands. Just at this moment, Shou Yi's phone call came through. Miss, we've found out, Su Ro's biological parents, Zhao Jiqiang and Lu Guifin, recently lost a large sum of money gambling in Macau and are now being pursued by loan sharks. My people found out that they've already tracked down the Su family's address. They'll probably come knocking soon. I curled the corner of my lips. Perfect timing. The grand show is finally about to begin. 7. The day Zhao Jiqiang and Lu Guifin came knocking, the weather was splendid. The couple was escorted into the Su family living room by several fierce-looking tattooed thugs. Flanking them on either side, Su Jiangwo, Lin Hui, your precious daughter owes us 5 million. If you don't pay up today, we'll sell her off to Southeast Asia. The leader, a man with a scarred face, kicked over the expensive pearwood coffee table. The fine porcelain tea set shattered into pieces across the floor. The Su family had never witnessed such a scene before, their faces turning deathly pale with fear. Lin Hui let out a scream and hid behind Su Jiangwo. Su Zhe wanted to rush forward and argue, but was easily shoved to the ground by a burly tattooed man. Only Su Ro remained standing there in a daze, staring at that wretched-looking couple, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. No, it's not me, I don't know them. Lu Guifin's eyes lit up, and she immediately rushed over, clutching Su Ro's thigh tightly. My precious daughter, how can you say you don't know your own mother? It was my fault. Back then, our family was too poor. That's why we abandoned you. Now that you're living a good life, you can't just ignore us. Zhao Jiqiang also began wailing loudly. Ruru, Dad knows he was wrong. Dad will never gamble again. Just save me this once. They'll really kill me. Get away. All of you, get away. Su Ro screamed hysterically, desperately trying to shake them off. The entire living room descended into complete chaos. I slowly walked down the stairs, watching the farce unfold with cold eyes. The scar-faced man's eyes lit up when he saw me, clearly mistaking me for another daughter of the Su family. You, come here, who's in charge in your family? Hurry up and hand over the money. I ignored him and walked straight to Su Jiangwo. Dad, Mom, Brother, I said calmly, this is sister's private matter, a boundary between her and her biological parents. As, essentially strangers, shouldn't we refrain from interfering? I gave them back exactly what they had said to me, word for word. Su Jiangwo, Lin Hui, and Su Zhe. Their expressions were as colorful as a palette. Su Qing. Is this really the time for that? Su Jiangwo growled, barely containing his anger. Hurry up and find a way to send them away. If this gets out, where will the Su family's dignity be? For the sake of the family's reputation, you must help this time. Lin Hui chimed in. Oh, I feigned surprise. When you kicked me out of the house back then, why didn't you consider the family's reputation? Now that you need my money, you suddenly remember we're family. I shook my head, looking troubled. Sorry, I'm just respecting the sense of boundaries my sister proposed. Her personal boundaries are not mine to interfere with. After saying that, I turned around to go upstairs. Stop, Scarface, seeing that I didn't take them seriously, grew furious and grabbed at my arm. Before he could touch me, his wrist was seized by an immense force. Shoei appeared behind me at some point, his expression cold as he twisted Scarface's wrist with such strength that the burly man, standing at 6 feet tall, let out a scream like a slaughtered pig. "Let go, my hand's gonna break." Several other tattooed men immediately surrounded them. Upon seeing this, Shoei remained unfazed, merely stating coldly, "Outside the villa, my people have already called the police. If you leave now, it counts as trespassing. If you take any further action, it becomes home invasion robbery plus intentional assault." The men exchanged glances, each seeing wariness in the other's eyes. Scarface endured the pain and glared fiercely at Xiao Jiqiang and his wife. "Fine, you've got me today, Xiao Jiqiang. I'm giving you 3 days. If the money isn't here by then, you can start preparing coffins for your wife and daughter." With that, he stormed out with his men, cursing loudly. The living room was left with only the ragged breaths of the Su family and the wailing cries of Xiao Jiqiang and his wife. I took out my phone and, in front of everyone, made an anonymous call. "Hello? Is this reporter Wang from XX Entertainment? I've got a big scoop for you. The wealthy Su family, a case of mistaken identities between daughters, with gambling addict parents coming to demand money." As I spoke, I sent Xiao Jiqiang and Lu Guifen's contact information via text message. Hanging up the phone, I looked with satisfaction at the ashen faces of the Su family. The real show is yet to come. 8. In less than half an hour, the hashtag fake heiress identity exposed hashtag skyrocketed to the top of the trending list, followed closely by a crimson, explosive character. "The power of the media is astonishing." The greedy and sleazy faces of Zhao Jiqiang and Lu Guifen formed a stark contrast to Su Ro's glamorous socialite image on social media. Netizens instantly erupted in outrage. "Holy shit, real-life version of Penthouse. Always flaunting bags and watches, thought she was a real princess. Turns out she's a thief who stole someone else's life. Her parents are next-level awful, aren't they? Lose all their money and come begging from their daughter. That poor girl must have drawn the shortest straw in 8 lifetimes. Shut up, you hypocrite upstairs. Haven't you seen the news? The real heiress was found, and this Su Ro is still occupying her room and assets. Now that something's happened, she expects the Su family to clean up her mess. Where's her shame? My heart aches for the real heiress, having to face this mess right after coming home. Public opinion is almost overwhelmingly in my favor. The Su family's phone lines are flooded with calls, and reporters swarm the villa's entrance. Su Jiangwo was so furious that he threw his phone and pointed at my nose, shouting, "You ungrateful wretch, you've completely disgraced the Su family. Dignity is earned, not given." I leaned back on the sofa, scrolling leisurely through comments on Weibo. If you had been decisive back then and cut ties with these bloodsuckers, how could things have come to this? You make it sound so easy, Lin Hui cried out. What did Ro ever do wrong? She had no choice. Yes, she couldn't choose her birth, but she could choose her own life. I sneered. She could have chosen to stand on her own feet instead of comfortably being a parasite stealing someone else's life. My words shattered Su Ro's last shred of psychological defense. She screamed and rushed at me, trying to hit me. "I'll kill you, Su Qing, I'll kill you." Suja reacted swiftly and grabbed her, holding her back as she struggled wildly in his arms, looking utterly deranged. "It's all your fault. You ruined everything. You destroyed my entire life." Watching her hysterical state, I felt not a shred of satisfaction, only a chilling coldness. In my past life, it was her relentless torment that drove me to madness, ultimately landing me in a mental asylum, and she, stepping over my bones, reveled in everything that should have been mine. This time, I merely returned the favor, giving her back exactly what she had done to me. "Take her back to her room," Su Jiangwo roared at Suja. Suja half-dragged, half-carried Su Ro upstairs. Only Su Jiangwo, Lin Hui, and I remained in the living room. "Speak up, what exactly do you want?" Su Jiangwo slumped onto the sofa, looking as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. "It's very simple," I put down my phone. "Make Su Ro and her parents disappear completely from the Su family." "Impossible," Lin Hui immediately retorted. "Ruro is the daughter we raised, we can't just abandon her." then you can keep taking care of her. I stood up. As for the company, don't count on me anymore. What do you mean? Su Jiangwo suddenly looked up. The Su Group has recently been bidding for a government project in the southern part of the city, right? I looked at him and spoke slowly. I heard the biggest competitor is the Li Group. Su Jiangwo's expression changed. This project is crucial for the Su Group. It's his last card to turn things around. Unfortunately, my grandfather happens to be old friends with the chairman of the Li Group. Su Jiangwo's lips began to tremble. With just one phone call, I can decide the fate of this project. I looked down at him condescendingly. Now, are you really willing to gamble the entire future of the Su family for an adopted daughter? It was a blatant threat. I gave him a choice. Choose Su Ro, or choose the Su family's wealth and prosperity. In my previous life, they chose my grandfather's shares without hesitation and abandoned me. In this life, I want to see just how much their familial love is worth. 9. Su Jiangwo and Lin Hui hesitated. They looked at me, their eyes filled with struggle, anger, and a trace of fear. They never expected that this daughter who returned from the mountains would prove far more troublesome than they had imagined. I gave them a day to think it over. The next day, instead of their reply, I was met with my brother Su Zhi. He blocked my doorway, dark circles heavy under his eyes, looking as though he hadn't slept all night. Su Qing, let's talk. His voice was hoarse. I have nothing to say to you. I moved to close the door. He pushed against the door forcefully, using all his strength. I know you hate us, hate how we favor Ro, but can't you avoid being so ruthless? The company is Dad's lifelong effort and Grandpa's legacy. You can't just stand by and watch it collapse. I looked at him, finding it somewhat amusing. The company was Grandpa's business, not Dad's. Besides, its current near collapse is due to Dad's poor management. You're talking nonsense, Su Zhi retorted angrily. Dad poured his heart and soul into the company. It's you. You're the one who stirred up trouble as soon as you came back, distracting Dad. So, it's my fault again, isn't it? If you could be more generous and accept Ro, how could things at home have turned out this way? How could there be problems with the company? I was completely infuriated by his twisted logic and laughed bitterly. Su Zhi, do you think the whole world should revolve around you? It wasn't my fault that I was switched at birth and suffered outside for 20 years. It wasn't my fault that Su Ro took my place and lived a life that didn't belong to her. It wasn't my fault either that you favored your adopted daughter and mistreated your own flesh and blood. Now that you've gotten yourselves into trouble, you want me to clean up your mess. What gives? Su Zhi was left speechless by my question, his face alternating between red and white. Then, what do you want? He struggled to say. As long as you're willing to help the company, we can discuss any terms. My terms were already made very clear yesterday. Let Su Ro leave. No way. He refused without hesitation. Her reputation is ruined now, and she's penniless. If we drive her out, aren't we sending her to her death? We've raised her for 20 years. We can't treat her like this. Watching his sincere expression, the last trace of familial affection in my heart vanished. In my past life, when I was sent to the mental hospital, he said the exact same thing. Su Qing, just think of it as making a sacrifice for the sake of this family. Ro can't live without us. But you're different. You're stronger than her. How ridiculous. Just because I appear strong, does that mean I deserve to be sacrificed? Fine. Since you're all so reluctant to part with her, I sneered coldly. Then you can hold on to her and get the hell out of the Su family together. Ignoring his shock, I immediately called Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi, you may initiate Plan B now. Yes, miss, I didn't give the Su family another chance. For the Southern City project, I directly utilized my grandfather's connections and handed it over to the Li Group. The news broke, and the stock price of the Su Group plummeted instantly, hitting the limit down. But this is only the beginning. 3 days later, at the Su Group's annual shareholders meeting, I attended as the largest shareholder. Su Jiangwo, Lin Hui, and Su Zhi sat across from me, their faces so gloomy they could drip water. Su Qing, what exactly are you trying to do? Su Jiangwo was the first to attack. Cleaning house, I replied succinctly. I had Zhou Yi distribute a document to all the shareholders present. This is evidence that Mr. Su Zhi, during his tenure as procurement manager, colluded with suppliers to falsify accounts and embezzle company assets. The total amount reaches as high as 50 million. Suja's face instantly drained of color. You're lying. This is fabricated. Whether it's fabricated or not, the economic crime investigators will determine, I said calmly, looking at him. By the way, the supplier who helped you cook the books is MS, Su Ro's distant uncle, isn't he? In my previous life, it was with this money that you bribed the doctors at the mental hospital to falsely accuse me of being mentally ill. My words exploded like thunder in the conference room. All the shareholders stared in shock at the three members of the Su family. Lin Hui screamed, "You're insane, you're talking nonsense. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know best in your hearts." I stood up, looking down at them from above. I proposed the removal of Su Jiangwo from his position as chairman, the dismissal of Su Zhe from all his roles, and holding him legally accountable. Additionally, on behalf of Su Group, I will sue MS Lin Hui for illegally transferring and embezzling the trust fund assets under Miss Su Qing's name. Now, please cast your votes, shareholders. 10. The outcome was unsurprising. Faced with irrefutable evidence, no one would stand by a family on the verge of collapse. Su Jiangwo and Su Zhe were dismissed on the spot, while Lin Hui also received a court summons. The Su family underwent a complete upheaval. I took over the company and quickly stabilized the situation, leveraging the connections left by my grandfather and my own capabilities. The first thing I did was reclaim the Su family villa. That day, when I returned with Zhou Yi and a few bodyguards, the Su family was in complete chaos. Su Ro's biological parents, Zhao Jiqiang and Lu Guifin, having failed to get the money and being pursued by loan sharks, simply refused to leave the Su family home. They turned the villa into a complete mess, taking whatever they wanted and throwing tantrums at the slightest displeasure, resorting to violence and verbal abuse. Lin Hui and Su Ro, two women accustomed to a life of comfort, were no match for them and were tortured beyond recognition. Su Jiangwo and Su Zhe, already overwhelmed with company matters, returned home only to face this chaotic situation, pushing them to the brink of a mental breakdown. They saw me as if they had seen a savior. "Qing, you're back. Quick, get these two ruffians out of here." Lin Hui rushed forward and grabbed my arm, seemingly forgetting that just days ago she had wanted to hit me. I shook off her hand in disgust. "MS, Lin Hui, please understand, this is no longer your home." I had the bodyguard hand her a property deed. "This villa is now under my name. I'm giving you 24 hours to take all your people and belongings and get out of here." "What?" The Su family was stunned. "Su Qing, you can't do this," Su Jiangwo roared. "We're your birth parents. When you forced me to take the blame for Su Ro, when you tricked me out of my shares, when you sent me to a mental hospital, did you ever stop to think that you're my biological parents?" I walked toward them step by step, and with every word I spoke, their faces grew paler. "Now, we need boundaries between us. This house will be the boundary between you and me." I no longer looked at their desperate faces and turned to give orders to the bodyguards. "If there are still irrelevant people here after 24 hours, throw them out directly." With that, I left without looking back. Behind me came Lin Hui and Su Ro's heart-wrenching cries, as well as Zhao Jiqiang and his wife's gloating curses. None of this had anything to do with me anymore. 11. Later, I heard that the Su family went bankrupt. Su Jiangwo and Su Zhe were sentenced to prison for embezzlement and falsifying accounts. Lin Hui's assets were frozen to compensate for the company's losses. The three of them, along with Su Ro and her parasitic parents, could only squeeze into a small rented apartment of a few dozen square meters. Without money, the Su family's arrogance and dignity vanished completely. Zhao Jiqiang and Lu Guifin became even more relentless, quarreling and fighting with them daily over basic necessities. It is said that Lin Hui and Su Ro were often beaten black and blue, while Su Jiangwo and his son, after being released from prison, could only survive by doing odd jobs. Utterly powerless to resist, they regretted their past actions deeply, sending messages through intermediaries, begging for my forgiveness and pleading for another chance. I just had someone reply with one sentence: "We're not close." Their personal hell has only just begun. As for me, after completely cleaning up this trash, I've finally welcomed my own rebirth. I renamed the Su Group to Yuanqing Group, in memory of my grandfather and my rebirth. Under my leadership, the company flourished and quickly became the industry leader. I have become a true queen, wielding power and shining brilliantly, only occasionally, in the stillness of the night. Do I still think of that humble and pitiful version of myself who died in the mental hospital? I walk to the window, gaze at the stars in the sky, and softly whisper to myself, Su-Ching, you've worked hard. From now on, no one can hurt you anymore. Sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling window, warm and bright. A new day begins. At the end, that's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.